first pickup coming in, but I still think there are a lot of carries on the table, such as Vox. They're strong pickups, and here we're not seeing Baron being banned out yet, and I think he's still viable in the current meta, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him be picked up here. Otherwise, it will be towards that Roam pick, and also just not giving away too much of their general team comp in this first draft pick. And then they do have their bonus time here that they're going into, so they're really giving this one a think.
Well, yeah, definitely. I must agree with you. There is one thing that I'm quite surprised coming up from Elite 8 is the Fox being picked out first item, first pickup. Only reason because Idris is a so much stronger pick, and especially when picking up Fox, you are exposing yourself to that of a Baron picked up, which was picked up by ASN Esports at the end of the day. And Idris is one of those counters and reliable counters going into Baron as well. We seeing ASN picking up that Baron. I'm sure CP Blackfeather or even Samuel may be banned out. They are pretty quick on their bans, but then for their picks, they are kind of considering their options as well. For the side of Elite 8, they do ban out Alara, so they might want to go for that Grace just for the other sustained hero, but Grace is actually being picked up by ASN Esports, just taking that Grace away from the side of Elite 8, which I think is a rather intelligent choice.
It's really nice to see Grace being picked up into these pro matches, especially, Grace, just as soon as she came out into the fold, you knew that this is the roamer that they put out and is strong. Some people complain that they're like, she's too strong, but it's like, no, it's just a good roamer. Her kit works so well. If you can get on top of those enemies, there are a lot, such as Sky, I know when playing against Grace personally, that you're able to jump around her and kind of escape. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that, a more mobile team comp come out of the side of my bad. Yes, Elite 8. Yeah. But they go for the Lance just for the general roam pick there. And I think that's also good. But in terms of that jungle, I would like to see a more mobile jungler, someone that doesn't have to dive right onto Grace, so they're not going to get caught up in that. Like Sky, beautiful pick up there.
Yeah, but
you can already tell which team I'm going to cheer on.
You are definitely going to go for that Elite 8 because of that Sky pickup. There is one thing about Lance that I do not quite like being picked up in the current meta, is that you have a Catherine still open. And Catherine counters Grace. I mean, of course, with Blast Tremor, it's a really easy skill to kind of crucible and block out in the late part of the game. But Catherine, her kit itself is really reliable. It's really a strong kit. So although Catherine is not being picked up, I don't think it's highly unlikely the side of ASN will be picking up the Catherine. So in order to counter the Sky, I'm sure they might lean towards Taka. That is the better pick going into Sky. I mean, at the end of the day, both of the comps coming out from the teams look rather balanced out. I mean, the side of ASN, they've got their Engage, and of course, the side of Elite 8 as well. They've got equal Engage, but one thing that's going for the side of Elite 8 is just the amount of CCs that Vox and Lance can bring to the table. And of course, not forgetting Sky when Sky has got Death from Above. That's slow and stun. And Sky in Southeast Asia have been played to a rather good extent with really high win rates as well. So I'm looking to see how this guy can actually perform going up against this Taka, because recently I've been in this ranked match. So every single time we see a Sky being picked up, I force my jungler to pick up the Taka, although he doesn't like to play Taka. But anyways, we do see the team comps coming out from both teams. What do you think? I mean, you are going to support, you are going to root for the team that has got Sky, but then objectively wise, what do you think overall as a team comp? Which team do you think has got the upper hand in draft?
Oh, well, I'm looking at two really strong team comps here. I mean, it's going to be tough going up against that Baron, especially when it's hard to dive him with Grace there to spawn, as well as with the immense heal you're going to get on the ultimate of Grace. And then Taka's just going to be that kind of nuisance trying to dive onto either Sky or more so Vox as well. And I think that could work out pretty well. they're quite similar in the team comps that they've got built up for themselves. I think where it just comes through, especially for ASN Esports, is that they have that Baron who doesn't necessarily need to. I wouldn't say go in as much, but I think he seems like it's a bit of a stronger pick than the Vox at the moment, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, Vox has got to sustain with the standard meta build with that poison shift going into tension bow, then afterwards finishing it up with a breaking point, and then building double defense, and then of course the boots. Problem with that is that Baron don't usually would build defense. So if you're gonna match him stat for stat, you would risk yourself just dying and just be eliminated before the fight even happens, because I granted you're building double defense and then Baron do not have. So if you can out sustain the Baron, then I guess you do fine. But then the amount of burst coming out from Baron after one jump jet, and it not even jump jets, don't even have to overdrive the jump jets. When Baron gets his hands on Sorrow Blade and Tension Bow, that is when he's got his biggest power spike. And on top of that, when he reaches level 12, when he has got extended range on his basic attack, it is so difficult for a Vox to actually dive in as well, let alone a Sky. So honestly, coming into this game, I do agree with you. Both teams have got their pros and cons. We have a very, very mobile Sky there who can Suri strike to the back lines, try to avoid that Grace, try to take that Baron down. But whether or not you can stand your ground, and then just tank up the damage, soak up the damage from Baron without Vox actually going down first. If Vox is the target for either carries, then of course you might actually win. Problem with that Grace being banned out, I'm just going back to draft. I'm just looking back at draft. Problem with the Grace, the Lyra being banned out is that you lack the sustain coming into this game. And in fact, Lyra is not actually that strong. I mean, Lyra is really strong. Her high sustain in the early game, but I personally think that Grace's kit is just so much stronger, and you could have used Grace's kit to a greater extent, especially after your second ban, coming into and giving away the Grace immediately when the enemy has the pick as well. And of course, the Sky pickup into Baron, I understand the thought process, but Baron, after all, he is a hero that relies a lot on his basic attack, not a lot of skill shots, so there is really nothing much for you to dodge. And then, of course, to finish up the team comp coming up from ASN is that Taka. I personally think that ASN's team comp is just so much stronger as compared to the side of Elite 8. But honestly, when it comes down to it, it is just down to execution. And both of us know that Elite 8 is the crown champion in Southeast Asia. But this is also a grudge match between Popeyes and, of course, Elite 8. There's one thing, if you actually have followed the championship series, Elite 8 actually went up with against Popeyes during the live championship, and Popeyes beat them in the first two games with a Glay pickup. So it's kind of a grudge match between both of these teams. So I'm quite interested. I'm excited to be going into this match and then just seeing who can pull off the comp much better as compared to the other one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a close match. And with that, I believe both the teams should be ready now. And we'll be getting on to the Halcyon Fold any second. So in chat, make sure you guys are putting down which team you guys are cheering for and show us your hype, because it's going to be an amazing way to start off Split 2 as the teams now load into the fold. So, Lakshura, what's your say on this matchup?
Well, honestly, I'm expecting a lot of early invades coming up from Chingy. It's just how Chingy is playing, used to play or still plays that way. Chingy, especially with Ataka, with double weapon blade in the early game, you have enough damage to go up against Sky, and especially when you have Grace on your team as well, your early game is just so much stronger as compared to E8's early game. Problem with that is that, and one more thing we note about Chingy is that Chingy likes to play really early game, put out really good early game aggression So there is one thing that we must consider. I mean, Chingy has been known for the Grumjaw pickup, for the Koshka pickup, and this is, I think, the first time we actually do see Chingy on this Taka, if I'm not wrong, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, Chingy is a really strong player overall. Really good addition to the side of Popeyes. A really solid jungler Chingy is, because he just knows his early game spikes, and you know he knows how to just be in the front lines, just being really aggressive with. Oh, Chingy is taken down really low, but Official Hein might be the first to fall, and Official Hein do fall, giving away the first blood to Chingy for the side of ASN. That is 300 gold, and of course a return kill coming out for Anime Save Me on that dance. Coming to this matchup, like you asked, what do I think, what do I personally think about it? Honestly, all Chingy have to do is just apply really good early game pressure, allow Aeon to farm up, and of course Tezza Boy is there on that Grace to ease, you know, the farming phase, the laning phase of Aeon on this Baron as well. If you do allow Baron to farm up and not putting a lot of pressure in lane, just to stun his farm, just to starve him up, you know, just to make sure he do not farm up for the late game, then you'll be pretty screwed when the late game strikes, especially when Baron, like I said earlier on, has got that Sorrow Blade, has got that Tension Bow. So you know honestly, for the side of Elite 8, they must really just come up to lane to gank that Baron, or just catch Baron in the later game just out of position. But we do see the amount of damage Chingy has in such early game as well. So they are fighting over the Ancient Treant right now. Anime Save Me might be going in. Tezza Boy is taken down really low, but they are just going to be sad after all. Okay, so I may be solo casting for this game because game will be so I guess the general rule of thumb for both teams is just knowing where their engagements are, when their power spikes are, because Fox can really sustain against the Baron in the early game, because Baron just lacks the damage before Jump Jets overdrive and whatnot, and of course the CCs before Jump Jets are overdrive, Baron can't dodge them, can't block them out anyway. Oh, Han Jaeger is going deep for the basic attack. Chingy might be picking up another kill for himself, and he does with one basic attack. Official Hein is attack. Official Hein is looking for Chingy. Ooh. Chingy dodged the forward barrage. Chingy is going in for Official Hein. Official Hein and Tezza Boy is there to support Official Hein, and Official Hein on that Sky to go down. So, it's really looking good for the side of ASN in this early game, especially that Taka pickup. Taka now is just sitting on double weapon blade, one Storm Guard banner, probably going into that early aftershock, or no, just going into the Storm Crown. And of course, sitting on a light shield as well. I mean, Tezza Boy coming into that fight early on really just helped Chingy secure that fight, and of course that early game. So honestly, ASN is really looking strong right now, especially when they have no ways to punish Baron in that lane.
Hello, I'm back. I'm sorry. Hopefully you can hear me clear and fine now. I'm not gonna lie, I had some technical difficulties. Hopefully things are sorted here, and I'm sure you did a great job covering these first few kills, as we now see Sky getting dived on. There's going to be the fountain, but it's not going to be enough as Grace picks up that 4th kill for their team, and it's going to push Han Jaegers and Anime Save Me back off. But Aeon looking fairly low as well. He is going to dive in, going to get those double auto attacks down, but you can see the damage being put out by Han Jaegers here. Pretty good. Anime Save Me trying to go in with the Impale, and I'm surprised to already see how quickly these teams have leveled up. Chingy already hitting that level 6, and it's interesting right now. They've gone for the Storm Guard. They are going to dive onto the onto Vox here and pick up the kill. Anime Save Me might be next if he doesn't get out there, but it's like he's enough to survive all that. And I was just looking at Chingy's build so far, seeing the Storm Crown with double weapon blades rather than any CP items yet. But it's like Anime Save Me trying to get Aeon, but Tezza Boy trying to body block there to save him from before barrage is going to go down, but it did save Aeon's life, and probably worth it.
Yeah, and there is one thing about Taka I've been seeing is that Taka might actually go for that Storm Crown into tension bolt, then afterwards Aftershock. And you know, really good pressure, lane pressure coming out from EA. For all this while, we know that EA. Ooh. Just look at the amount of damage. Anime saved me so tough.
Yeah, gonna have to use that Kaku to heal up, but still fairly low. You can see a lot of damage going out in this early game so far. I mean, we're 6 minutes in already, but you know, there's not much defense on both these teams if you look over. There's a reflex coming out of Official Hein, and then a bit of light armor on Hun Jaegers there. And then on the side of ASN Esports, we're going to see just a bit of shield coming out. So they're really focusing on that Sky and the damage she can put out with Barrage, especially when she gets into a good position using that Surrey Strike.
Well, yeah, definitely. I must agree with you. I mean, Sky is really just a threat at the end of the day, because if you are going to be caught up in the forward barrage and you eat the entire barrage, it's going to spell a really bad day for you. So we do see Chingy getting a level 8, a really early level 8 infusion, probably going in for another fight. If not, then a turret at least.
Chingy does get caught out there. Push. There's going to be the hail coming up from Anime Stadium, but big damage going down. There's the Fountain Iron Cannon follows up. No follow-up with that though, however. Aeon was looking for the Sky, couldn't find it. Chingy going to dive in, gets the bleed damage onto Lance, manages to pick up the kill. Chingy's low, there's the Fountain. It's not going to be enough to save them as Grace goes in, but instead is going to have to back out of that one. Does manage to knock up the box and kind of confuses Elite 8 there as they weren't able to decide which target to go. And they're just going to leave that one. You see Hun Jaeger's now low on energy, low health. They have to back out of that. But so far, it's ASM with the lead here with 6 kills to not much in terms of gold and separation. We've got 7k over to k of Elite 8, so fairly close there. No objectives taken yet. You know, it's still a close game, but if anything, you would have to give it to ASN, who had that Taka, who's able to do those turret dives and get that bleed damage. Even with a little bit of crystal power, it's still doing the work, and you see him now picking up that aftershock. And as you mentioned earlier, a lot of early infusions coming out as we see Hun Jaegers picking up that weapon infusion. And such a lane-heavy focused game so far.
I mean, we do know that Elite 8 has been one of those teams that are really objective focused, especially the lane, and they just want to take out turrets ASAP. And that is how, just look at the amount of damage coming out on.
Yeah, Chingy gonna dive in there from above. They'll catch out Aeon, but they're not able to follow up, or I might have spoken too soon. It's actually gonna be Vox going down and ASN turning it around with the Fountain. Anime Save Me has used his Fountain as well, but wasn't enough to save Hun Jaeger, as it's going to be ASN pushing onto the first turret and most likely going to get, you can see the damage coming out from Aeon already with that Tension Bow and Sorrow Blade. They might even pick up the kill onto Lance, which they do. Official Hein taking massive damage. No defense against that Baron at the moment, and Taka finds the kill there. It's looking bad for Elite 8 as ASN pushing their way into this first match. Chingy just going to dive on in there, manages to pick up a kill. Kaku's for the stealth and the heal, gets out there. There's a second ace, and they move on to the next turret. A big push coming out of ASN just within those few minutes.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, I was talking about how objective focused the side of Elite 8 is as a team. But the problem is that their draft, like I said, like when we were going through draft earlier on, picking up that Sky is a really good hero if you can avoid all the CCs coming out from Grace. But Grace at this point in time is just such a strong hero. If they're going to go into a double ban and your second ban will be Lyra, the opposing team would definitely pick out that Grace. And we do see the amount of damage and the amount of utility Grace can bring to the table with just one level on Divine Intervention, and that is because their team just lacked the sustain, lacked the heals. And then of course Grace on her part, although it's not, her heal isn't sustained heal, but it is at the end of the day, a big burst heal, a big massive heal for Aeon. And you know, when Aeon gets caught out position on this Baron, it's always spelling trouble for him, and it's just not good for Baron. But with that burst, still Baron can have a little more margin. His margin of error and mispositioning is just bigger. There's just more room for him to just go around, not afraid of being poked down, because Taser Boy with the divine intervention is constantly and always there. So we do see another infusion being picked up on Chingy as well. They might be looking for this gold mine.
Yeah, it looks like they could take it without contest. It has been flared out, however, by Elite 8. I don't think there's going to be any Steel Bear Anime Save Me going in with the Impale, but it's not going to be enough. You mentioned the team comp coming out of ASN here, how they were allowed to pick up this Grace, and it just works so well with what they've built for themselves. It's the dive comp that they have, and you can really tell, you talked about the utility on Grace, and that just opens up so many opportunities to get in and also get out of those systems safely, because already, even when you've just got this tanky Taka build, he is such a pain when he dives in there, is able to put down the damage but just escape the turret with ease. You've just got that Grace there to save him now, and Baron on the backline to put that damage in, as you see right there. Massive damage, 498 coming out into the box, able to pick up the kill. Ion Cannon just going to add a bit more there, almost picking up Official Hein as they go low. And there really isn't much Elite 8 can do at this stage, because once ASN started rolling, they haven't stopped. And it looks like it might continue that way for the most part. Understandably, Vox and Sky are late game heroes, so there might be hope there, but you can also imagine how strong this Baron is going to be late game if he's already pulling out this much damage.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about late game heroes, I must give it over to Aeon on that Baron, because Baron just scales so much better into the late game. But as for Vox, you are not going to build any more attack items after your tension bow, your poison shift, your breaking point. All you're going to build up next is just a lot of armor and a lot of shield, and that is all that you have in your kit. Whereas for Baron, he's not going to build any more defenses other than a probable slumbering husk. If not, then a light shield, or sorry, an Aegis, and that's about it. I've even seen Baron picking up crucibles as well. So that is the thing as well for Baron. You have to match him stat for stat. So if you are going to go for a Vox, then you must imagine, when Baron is being opened up, that when Baron is still open, then of course you are going to hope to get, the other team is definitely going to pick up that Baron. And then you must have a reliable counter.
Yeah, and this is what I talked about. 1 second as Sky just gets taken down solo. Death from above, trying to save their life. Try run away. Aeon is on the chase. Doesn't manage to pick up the kill on Official Hein, but is going to instead turn to the team fight, help pick up that Vox who's bleeding out. Chingy gonna pick up the kill there, and you now see Anime Save Me doing what they can to try recall, but with Aeon on your back, I don't think you get away from this one. And it looks like Taka stayed around, able to find Official Hein there alongside with Tezza Boy, but it's taking a fair bit of damage from that forward barrage, but the divine intervention is come down and provide Taka with the health that just puts him back at full health at this point alongside his Kaku. So ASN here, I talked about in the draft phase that there's something of this Baron Vox thing that it just made me think, even though I love Sky, that ASN had this one because they were able to pick up that Baron, but it's just how well it's working alongside the Grace and Taka comp.
Well, I mean, you must credit to Chingy as well. Chingy put on a very good early game pressure and allowed Baron to just scale and just get farmed for the late game, and that is why Baron is allowed and can put out so much damage, and that is because the side of Elite 8 as well, there is no answer to the Baron. I was about to say this before that fight actually broke out. I was hoping Elite 8, seeing that Baron, would go for that Ozo pickup instead of Sky, and also because there is no reliable counter, because one reason, right, the only way to counter Ozo, or rather not the only way, one reliable way to check Ozo is just building poison shift. Problem with Baron is that Baron do not build poison shifts at all. So that is one thing that's going for you. Yeah, so you can actually pick up that Ozo, but then that didn't happen. Sky was picked up, and thus, with that, you have Baron that counters a Vox. And then of course you have Taka that counters Sky as well. So, you know, at the end of the day, the side of ASN just drafted so much better. And then we do see Aeon 222 on this Baron not building a single ounce of defense at all. Soak the light shield for a minion's foot and then building into a lucky strike, hopefully into a Tyrant's Monaco, and that is 100% crit that would be coming out from the rocket launcher of Baron. So, you know, the amount of damage coming out from the side of ASN is just insane. And like you said, Taka can just be in the front line. Taka can just be a nuisance, not even caring. Ooh, and may say we might be caught out right now.
Yeah, it looks like a fight is going to break out. And on the engage, and Anime Save Me trying to do what I can with the Impale, but not to catch out anyone except Baron by Vox. As Vox now trying to turn this one around, and here's a point I was going to bring up that, you know, we'll have to wait until this fight's over. However, Tanyega is going to be able to chase down that Grace, and it looks like Chingy going to be left alone. This could be Elite 8 turning this one around. There's the Impale, there's the stun into the wall. He has gone invisible, but he's not going to make it out of this one. Fox with a massive play there, able to turn it around for his team. And you've got to give credit to Anime Save Me and behind for being able to keep that Taka on lockdown to provide them the ace that they needed. They should be able to get a turret from this one, and the Kraken, which so desperately for that fight. It was an 8 goal lead side of ASN. But what I was just thinking then, your point on the defense on Aeon, I was thinking ASN have got this. They've got this as long as they're the team engaging.
Yes.
The problem is to engage that just came out. Death from above that went down, but Impale out of Anime Save Me, forcing them to use, I believe, an early Crucible and maybe just a reflex out of Aeon by, I believe. And then it just left him open, and Vox somehow able to just build up all that damage, and especially when he's got this breaking point, he's just so much stronger in these drawn out fights. But we see ASN trying to go in for the fight once again. Fountain is up, isn't used, however, just yet for Hanyega, so Hanyega gets to stay on that backline. It's going to be used now, and in hopes of getting Vox alive for the rest of this fight. Meanwhile, no one's checking official hinds except Taka just then. I spoke too soon. They're going to turn this one around on Elite 8, and I believe if they get the ace, go for the turrets, but instead they're gonna have to turn around, focus their attention on this Kraken that is beating down on their base, and they should be able to save this anchor turret. But I think just in general in the last few minutes, that is exactly what Elite, maybe they could have done this Kraken push a bit better, but overall it was positive outcome where they were just.
I mean, what happened just now, and what made ASN lose that the team fight before this one is really just they did not force the engage. Instead, they retreated. Whereas for Baron, once you actually do retreat with your jump jets, what happened is that you become very vulnerable until next jump jets up. Whereas if you do jump jet in for an engage, you put out a lot of damage at once and then you force the enemy's retreat. So that was what that was going for the side of ASN, and I think they should continue that pressure instead of allowing the side of Elite 8 to, you know, just pick up the pressure and of course engage on them. They might be looking for another engage right now, but infusions are running out across the boards. Vox just got his infusions as well. So, you know, when it comes down to the late game like this, we do see the side, we do see Aeon selling that lucky strike and picking up that Aegis at the end of the day. And I think it's a rather intelligent pickup because of one fight that they lose, and Aeon realizes that you cannot count on Grace's heal all the time, because Grace's generally would want to heal the front line first. And with that, even with an echo, it's going to take 1.5 seconds for the next burst of heal that would be down on Aeon. So honestly, I think it's a really good pickup for Aeon. But on it, I must say though, I'll prefer Tension Bow into Sorrow Blade into Tension Bow and then double Tyrant's Monaco instead of a Tornado Trigger that is picked up for Aeon. Only reason is because you're going to jump jets in and you're going to try to output
sustainable option rather than go shield. Could have gone for something like Serpent's Mask, that way you have the damage from Serpents as well as the lifesteal there. And then also, as you mentioned, that Tyrant's Monaco would be a good way to round that one out. But instead, it's going to go for this Aegis, which will give them the reflex block as well, which is not get caught out by that Impale. 8 and they're moving very close. They know each other's there. You can see Varoma's facing off right now. Anyega's going to go into the bush unchecked though as Taco jumps onto him, and there's going to be the renewal. Will it save him in time? He's going to find the safety of his Crystal Sentry. Great stun up by Chingy. Meanwhile, Sky is in the backline here and it's having a bit of trouble, and they managed to get out of that. Luckily, no kills given over to the side of ASN. That could have gone horribly for Elite 8 if Taka had committed a bit more there and if they were able to find the pick onto Sky. But, you know, that's the way it broke down, and ASN now have the opportunity to go for this Kraken mostly uncontested. Anyegas is going to turn up, but they're going to jump onto him straight away, taking him down instantly. There's no fountain available to heal him. There's going to be the fountain on the side of the ASN going off, however.
Oh!
There's going to be the steal coming out from Anime Sage onto the Kraken, and that is massive. That just saved them the game. If they did not get this, they would have lost. However, they're now facing their next problem. Anime Save has the choice to go in, which he does, try to land the Impale, but Aeon gonna block that with the overdriven jump jets. And they need to stop them from just getting the Kraken and not getting nothing in return, because that's gonna push the economy of ASN even further. You can see the heal going down onto Taka, and they're really trying to stop them, which Elite 8 in this case are doing very well, but Official Hind needs to be careful to not get caught up in this mess. If Official Hind goes down here, could mean disaster, and they have decided to turn on to them. Official Hind gets caught out. It might not be the ace, however. There's the turret going over to Kraken. It's not over yet. However, Hanyeg is in a dangerous next 35 seconds.
Well, definitely. I mean, if it was me, I would have just TP'd back really early on and grabbed the Kraken, because now their base is exposed. It is just down to the next team fight or so for both of these teams to kind of win. And a lot of times we do see, although ASN is in the lead of 7,000 in terms of gold and in fact kills as well. Problem with them is that they are now
kills ahead.
No, 7,000 gold ahead. But problem with them now is that they are now in this state of limbo where they cannot advance, nor can they kind of retreat as well. Taka is slowly losing out his grip on, you know, the fights because of the amount of damage that he's not putting out, unless on Vox. And even then, Vox has already picked up an Aegis now. So, you know, Taka's going to have a hard time trying to burst down the Vox, and it's just him, Taka, just being a nuisance in the front lines, and hopefully Aeon can just take everyone out.
Well, they're looking for that Sky pick, which Taka's going to jump onto directly. And Fox and Baron facing it off there. Who's going to get it? There's the Iron Cannon. The fountain's being used by both teams. There's going to be a reflex block. Heal goes down onto Baron. Baron wins out that fight. Meanwhile, Taka going low to the Crystal Sentry does get impaled, and they're doing what they can. Official Hind's over that wall, but needs to be careful because there can be jump jets or just Taka flying over there with Titan or Exretsu. Able to disengage from that fight, which I think in this situation is in favor of Elite 8. Of course, they had the numbers advantage on ASN, but they were very wary of the Sky. And we talked about before, you know, the late game, the team of Elite 8 is going to have that power spike, but you've got to remember Aeon is also quite strong at this point. The only problem holding Aeon back, and we mentioned it before, was the defense they built up, which is a problem and not a problem. You can see still holding on to the tension bow as well, because it is a decent pickup to have that reflex block there to save yourself. However, you know, it might be working out better, at least if they could have closed off the game earlier by just going full damage and that rush. But Elite 8 doing a very good job to stall it out until this point. Will Anime Save Me get another amazing Kraken steal? We'll have to see. He does war treads his team in. Chingy is going to be the target, stuck between the three of Elite 8, and is going to hold off this Kraken push for just a bit longer, but Kraken didn't get quite reset there. Is still attacking the teammates of ASM. There's going to be Death from above going down, followed by Iron Cannon doing massive damage. They can see all of Elite 8, and it's going to be Tucker jumping on to Chingy, gets the kill. They now need to look for the ace. That's all ASM need, and they can push on through. Even 2 kills would be immense here. If Chingy can pick up Official Hind, the game is over for Elite 8. What can they do? There's the Grace over the wall, manages to get the slow and confirm the kill onto Taka. You can see ASN maybe wanting to regroup here, even push down into the lane. It's 35 seconds on that box. But what can Anime Sami do on his own to defend this base? He is going to go in. It would have been a beautiful Giphian wall if he just landed it up onto the base wall there. And the turret just getting mounted instantly. You can see the pure damage that ASN do have. It's just being countered so well so far by Elite 8. But that's all going to be over as ASN finally they're able to keep down. Box is up, but it's going to be too late. ASN, they rarely had that game for the most part, but you could see how they were slipping as the start to turn around on their heels. And that amazing Kraken from Anime Sami. But in the end, GG to ASN as the winner of that first match.
Yep, I mean, just going through, the game itself and the last fight, what they did right was that they dropped the Kraken immediately instead of just focusing down the Kraken, turned their backs on Elite 8 and just immediately took down the carries of Elite 8. And we see across the board is that official Hein on this guy did not even build defenses against a Baron. Not that it's going to be of any use, because we do see a Metal Jacket coming out on Han Jäger, and yeah.